My personal opinion is that we have to keep geoengineering on the table. We have to look at it very carefully because we might get desperate enough to want to use it. The danger, of course, with geoengineering is the one I was referring to a moment ago. We don't understand the system well enough to predict its responses in detail, and that means there's always a danger if you try to engineer the system on a large scale that you will do something that has side effects that are worse than the dimension of the problem you're trying to cure with the geoengineering in the first place. There are a variety of schemes that have been discussed for geoengineering. A classic example is injecting reflecting particles into Earth orbit that would deflect some of the sunlight that would otherwise be warming the Earth, and in that way try to produce a cooling effect to offset the heating effect of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Current estimates are that that would be very expensive, that it would be problematic from the standpoint of injecting things into orbit that our other orbiting space assets would have trouble with. And it doesn't solve the whole problem because, for example, it does nothing about the absorption of some of the excess carbon dioxide in the surface layer of the ocean, which is acidifying the ocean and posing a potential threat to ocean creatures that form shells or skeletons out of calcium carbonate. It also doesn't even fully address the atmospheric heat transfer effects of the greenhouse gases because essentially you're interfering in the visible part of the energy spectrum in order to offset an interference in the infrared part of the energy spectrum, and you can't expect that to be completely effective.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back, and it is the late night video, and I'm gonna start off by saying this. Remember that we are at war not only with the deep state, not only with the kingdom of darkness, but with technocrats too. Before I go into anything else about this video, I need to talk about an issue of dialect that people keep confronting me with. In Louisiana, we say got damn. So if I say, man, I'm tired of these goddamn, it's got damn, not god damn. And it's these Puritans that keep coming, well, you taking the Lord's name in vain. I want to explain something to you. If I'm praying, and I'm praying against this gentleman right here, I will say, God damn him. Lord, will you damn him? And I don't think people understand this because the kind of run-of-the-mill, go to church on Sunday Christian, you never pray against wickedness and evil. There's nothing wrong with asking God to damn a person or to damn a situation. But that is not what I say. I say got with a T, damn. So for future reference, I don't need you coming over being like, oh, I can't believe you said goddamn. Got with a T, damn is what we say in New Orleans. Just like instead of saying water, we say water. Just like instead of saying oil, we say Earl. Instead of what in the Sam Hill, we say what in the Sam Hell. It's cultural dialect based upon regions. I just want to make that clear for people because when you are a Christian, you're on YouTube, quite frankly, you get attacked more by Christians than you get attacked by anybody else. Because with their purity test, oh, you said this and I might not listen to you no more because you said goddamn. Then I go in your bedroom and you got pornography books stacked up under the bed. You sitting there doing all kind of wicked stuff, but you won't look at me. I want to make it clear. I say got, G-O-T-D-A-M. All right, with that being said, guys, I want to get into weather modification. And I'm going to start with this premise. And this doesn't mean that I'm 100% correct, but this is kind of what my spirit is telling me about this. If you notice, the minute the big, beautiful bill passed, catastrophe started to hit. And in my opinion, it's a couple of things going on. Number one, the deep state and the controllers know that they're losing. You really got to think about USAID funding was cut off. The protests didn't work. The American people are tired of immigrants. They're tired of illegals. And so you had the big, beautiful bill pass, and then the media started signaling the attack. Well, in the big, beautiful bill, he cut off the stuff for OSHA and for Nora and all the rest of the stuff, and we're going into hurricane season. What's the most logical attack going into hurricane season to attack the United States of America and attack the administration that's there? Remember, it's always about attacking the administration. But also, how could you possibly funnel some more money for your ambitions? FEMA. We know that FEMA took money and allocated it to illegals. We know that FEMA budget money was retaken from the illegals. But what if there's leaky holes in FEMA where they can hide money and move money, and they just want to get budgetary funds allocated to FEMA? It makes all the sense in the world when you think about it that this would be the target. And then furthermore, Texas and South Carolina are targeted. What does it mean when Texas and South Carolina are targeted and all those people are displaced? How long does it take to recover from such devastation? Now, Austin is blue. We know Austin is blue. We know everywhere around Austin is red. So red districts get hit. The problem is with that theory is that Chapel Hill got flooded, and Chapel Hill is historically blue. So when we start to think about this, I personally think that the deep state is raging. It's raging like a wounded animal that's been cornered, and they're pulling out all the stops. Now we add in the confusion that was added into the equation today with the Epstein files, which again, honestly, the Epstein files would not be the biggest thing on the planet if we didn't make it the biggest thing on the planet. Let's just keep it real. It's the people that's making it a big thing because people want answers. But with that being said, I don't think the people have accepted the fact that those people have been evil for hundreds of years and that their evil has a way of covering itself up. Second of all, I don't not necessarily know that they're not blackmailing them with the blackmail material. Because if I had all the blackmail material, I would blackmail the hell out of myself. Why would I let Mossad and Israel blackmail you when I can blackmail you? Why would I be like, yeah, we're gonna let Israel just black? Now I'm gonna call them in. I got all these videos with you with these children. I got them myself. Now you're gonna do what I say do, or else I'm gonna release them. But when you really look at that, you would think that it would be targeting Democrats. I don't think that the Democrats are the target. I think the battle is within the Republican Party. Yep. I think the Democrats are the Democrats. I think this blackmail is all about the Republican Party, the Rhino Party. All right, anyway, back to what I was saying about the storms. Have you noticed that there are all kind of disasters breaking out? I mean, all over the place. Tornadoes, floods, fires, earthquakes, but it's all around the world at the same time. And volcanoes, all going off. And what it says to me is that we got two things going on. Either we have the deep state of America attacking America from within, and I'm leaning towards that, or we have the deep state of America playing weather modification and warfare games to pit two nations against each other. China has had some very, very bad things. America's having bad things. Or finally, the third option, which is kind of back to the first, they just said, screw it. We're going to try and destroy the planet. They just said, we're just going to try and destroy the planet. But we're going to start with the weather modification.
My name is
cloud
Augustus
seeding.
Tariq.
Shut up right now. We're going to start off with the culprit and the floods of Texas. And hear what he has to say. This is the gentleman responsible. Sidebar note. Donald, you need to go and pick him up. Yeah. Y'all need to go and pick him up. All this passing stuff in Congress and just go on black bag him. Black bag the dude, because as you get through this video, you're going to see who he's associated with, guys. But you need to go on black bag him now and don't give him opportunity to do this again. We get to the point where the black bags need to come out.
My name is Augustus Tariq. I'm the CEO and founder of Rainmaker. We're a cloud seeding company that is enhancing precipitation via advanced radar and also drones for the sake of supplementing water supplies for farms, cities, reservoirs, and wildlife throughout the United States. Our ultimate vision is to end water scarcity, and we've begun that mission already. I'm testifying to not oppose the spirit of this bill, which I think is well-founded, but the current configuration of the bill that I think would impede this mission for ending water scarcity and also for bringing the best-in-class technology to Florida and the rest of the United States. And so the first point that I'd like to make is the difference between solar radiation management and cloud seeding. And so Senator Garcia did bring this up briefly. Solar radiation management is a very new technology. It's not something that's been tested at length. NOAA has done some very initial experiments on its efficacy. It is attempting to reduce the amount of solar radiation that makes it down to the planet by injecting reflective aerosols into the upper atmosphere. Once you inject these aerosols, they stay in the stratosphere for years. They have effects on the entire climate. The data from these experiments, because the experiments have been so few, is limited. And so the implications of them are not something that are well tested yet. Cloud seeding is altogether different. The only similarity is that it has to do with the atmosphere. It has to do with the low atmosphere. It's a mechanism, or it's a tool that either freezes the water in existing clouds or condenses the droplets in existing clouds into bigger snowflakes or bigger droplets such that they fall onto your target watershed or farm. It's a technology that has existed for 80 years in the United States. It was patented by GE in 1946, but it hasn't been viable for a long time because we didn't have the appropriate radar to measure exactly what its effect is. I can tell you definitively that there is not cloud seeding going on in the state of Florida because you would be able to see its effect on radar. So the National Center for Atmospheric Research produced some great results from what's called the SNOWY campaign, where they were able to verify cloud seeding's effect, and they saw tens of millions of gallons of precipitation occur from each of their interventions, and that was very, very easily distinguishable on radar. It also is worth saying that it's local in its scope, and it is very short temporally. So if ever there is cloud seeding going on and you don't like the consequences of it, there are unintended consequences, and it's quite well characterized so the unintended consequences are minimal. You can stop whenever you like. So that point of differentiation between solar radiation management, which is something that I think the public should scrutinize more heavily, and cloud seeding, is important to make from the top. Then the second point I'd like to make is that, well, it has to do with the safety of cloud seeding, right? Because this has to do with environmental health, particularly pollution. Cloud seeding is conventionally done with a chemical called silver iodide. Its LD50, so its lethal dose, is 10 times higher than aspirin. And we're using about 50 grams per each operation. That's as much as can fit in the palm of your hand, right? That's less flour than is in a slice of bread. So the amount that accumulates into watersheds is in the parts per trillion after decades of operation, and we have data to prove that from programs that exist throughout the United States. This leads me into another point, which is the precedent that other states have set in cloud seeding permitting and licensing. So I think that, per what I said at the top of my commentary, the spirit of this bill to protect Floridians, to protect Americans from environmental pollution, that is great. And I think that permitting and licensing absolutely should exist. It does exist in states like Texas and Utah and Idaho. So this isn't a blue state or red state issue. California has a process as well. New Mexico has a process. And we don't want anybody wantonly modifying the weather. So implementing a permitting regime so that it's only done responsibly and safely with best-in-class meteorological practices, that makes sense. And we advocate for that. Not only do we advocate for that, we, Rainmaker Technology Corporation, has engineers in all of those states that I mentioned that are actively modifying the weather, that are actively enhancing precipitation for farmers and reservoirs and cities that are undergoing drought. And that brings me into like my third and closing point. Like, what is this bill about? What are we voting on here? Yes, this has to do with Florida, first and foremost. I don't think that burdening the state with more regulation, with more permitting on investigation is something that it would necessarily be excited about, but if it was for the sake of protecting Floridians, that makes sense. I don't think that we want to prevent Florida's access to best-in-class technology for their agriculture and their water and their wildlife, but more than that, it has to do with the United States, both domestically and abroad. No ifs, ands, or buts. Mar-a-Lago exists here. Florida is a very consequential state within the United States, and if weather modification is banned here, that sets a precedent to deprive farmers in even more arid regions of the country from getting access to water from cloud seeding. And so if only for the sake of other Americans, for other farming interests, for other cities like Salt Lake, which is currently radically under budget for their water supply, and people are getting respiratory issues from the dust kicked up from the evaporation. Cloud seeding could mitigate that. If this precedent is set here, it could affect other Americans. And not only could it affect us immediately within the United States, but long term it could affect us geopolitically, because China has a $300 million annual budget for weather modification research and operations. And if we are to ban this here, if that precedent is set throughout the rest of the United States and perhaps federally, then we will lose control over the weather to China. And that's not something that I, as a patriot, or I think anybody else in Florida would advocate for. So in closing, I think that permitting and licensing for cloud seeding, which is a technology that other states throughout the union have adopted and created, I advocate for wholeheartedly. But SRM is something altogether different.
Thank you, Mr. DeRico. I think Senator Pizzo has a question.
Now, Mr. DeRico told a whole bunch of truth. We've been saying that they've been spraying nanoparticles on the population, and finding heavy metals in the soil. And he's risen to be the person that's going to be the spokesperson for this. But what about what they've been doing? I mean, what about what they've been doing? And now that we've listened to this, I'm speculating, ladies and gentlemen. This is just me speculating. I could be wrong. What if this was intentional to bring it to the forefront? I mean, literally, what if this was intentional to bring it from behind the scenes to the forefront? Now, you see who he's with. And I said the deep state is wilding. They're wilding out, trying to attack the nation. The argument that because if we stop doing it, China will control the weather is a different argument than flooding out the people in Texas. China didn't have this technology before we did. We had the technology during the Vietnam War. Technology's been around for a long time. So the concept that China will take over and China being the boogeyman is completely and totally ridiculous. I mean, it really is totally ridiculous. But that makes sense when you start talking about globalists like this gentleman right here. They need a boogeyman. So the boogeyman in his speech was the farmers in the dried dust in China. Now, how many of you guys remember they were talking about there were going to be water wars in the future? People were fighting over water wars, because the planet, though the planet is made of majority water wars, we're going to be fighting over water. This is, in my opinion, a water war. I mean, the Bible talks about the bottles in the sky, which are called clouds. That's in Job 38. It also talks about the rivers in the sky. I want to say that's Job 42. And all of them pertain to water. And so water is being used as a weapon against the people. That's all it boils down to. Water, weaponized water. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say keep watching the water, Mike. But everybody act like I'm crazy and I tell them keep watching the water. Nobody want to hear you, boy. Man, all you say is keep watching the water because it's in everything. It makes up everything. It's inside of you. It's what they poison to kill you. And then when we continue and keep looking further and further and further, not only can they do it from the sky, but they can do it from the ground. He said that they can do it with drones, and they can do it with planes, and that they can do it from the ground. So essentially, someone can launch a weather modification attack on a city and the city not even know it. I mean, really think about it. I mean, if I had the drone that can go into the air and I had the right spray, I could literally launch a drone and conjure up a thunderstorm, which technically you can call this sorcery, technological sorcery. I could use technological sorcery to conjure up a thunderstorm and flood an entire area. And that's what we've witnessed. And so I'm going to say this. I think that Donald's going to have to come out and address this. In fact, Donald, you're under attack on all angles at this point in time. And it's amazing because you get the big, beautiful bill passed. You go to the 4th of July wanting to party and celebrate, and they launch an attack. And the attack is floods and storms. Expect hurricanes, floods and storms. And then Elon Musk and then more Democrats about illegal aliens in California. It's essentially like the empire saying, yeah, you got your big, beautiful bill passed through, but we're not going anywhere. We ain't going nowhere. It's Democrats for life. We ain't going nowhere. That's what they're saying. That's exactly what they're saying. And that's what we're dealing with. 2 years ago, a video on cloud seeding.
Like this one, and there are currently 42 cloud seeding projects across the American West, like this one in Utah, where they take planes like this with flares attached. They fly right into the storm and send microscopic particles into the cloud. Particles that act like magnets for water droplets, bonding together until they are heavy enough to fall to the ground as rain or snow. At the University of Colorado, researchers are working on artificial intelligence to deploy cloud seeding drones. And it's not just cloud seeding from the sky. There are hundreds of those things. That shack you see in the foreground is a ground-based cloud seeder. The little flame coming out is sending tiny silver iodide particles up into the sky. When a storm comes through, they go up to 2,000 feet above our head, into the storm, up those mountains, and make more snow than it naturally would. While cloud seeding has been helping get every last drop out of some of the driest years on record, this past winter, Mother Nature came through. The Southern Rockies, which feed the Colorado River, got more than 4 times their average snow. But experts say it's still not enough. As much as cloud seeding is a boost or a help, it's not a solution. The main solution is
conservation.
cloud seeding is most successful in wet years, so this was a huge winter for them. They actually stopped early because Mother Nature was giving up so much. Now, studies have shown that the environmental impacts from the silver iodide, on the current scale, there are no impacts to snow or rain, also downstream, so it doesn't impact, the other weather. They do anticipate at least 200 more ground cloud seeders in the future, and the federal government has committed $2.6 million to seeding. Back to you, Gio and Eva. There are
So essentially what they're telling us is that cloud seeding is safe and effective. Even though it's ran by AI, it's safe and effective. Where have we heard that before? It's safe and it's effective. Yeah, go out and go out into the country. And when you see a giant tornado coming that just came up out the blue after you've seen chemtrails in the sky, don't run. It's safe and effective. What the hell, man? What the hell? I want to show you something else. Let me skip down. Anna Paula Luna, what up, pretty self? No. Here it is. This the one I want to show you. Yeah, baby. Now, if you don't follow Hustle Bee on Twitter, why am I not subscribed? You need to follow. You need to subscribe. I ain't paying you no $10, dog. You kiss my behind. Never mind. I don't pay no $10. If you don't follow Hustle B, then you need to click on this post so his post will pop up. But I ain't paying him no $10. No, I'm not doing that. I'm good. Now, he pulled up a video, and this video is out of Lake Tahoe, where mom is out there with her kids, and she records the lake buzzing from HAARP radiation. And understand, this is the deep state waging war on the American people. And then, a few minutes later, this crazy storm arises. Let's go with the buzzing first. Try it again, because the buzzing, you didn't hear the... All right, here we go. Can you hear it? Zzz. That's the frequency. Weird. That's the frequency buzzing. And you know, the insane thing is people be like, oh, Lord Waters, everything is frequency. Yeah, you don't know nothing about those frequencies because water responds to frequencies. The frequency, the electrical engineer don't know about the water to respond to frequencies. All right, so you see the frequencies being put out. And then hours later, here you go.
Holy shit.
really, bro?
The sheriff boat's off. Bro. This is insane, dude. Boats are sinking. Oh, fuck, dude. Listen. Oh, my God. Bro, this is insane. There's a yacht over there that smashed into a house that you can see through here. Oh. Woohoo! Dude. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say right now. That's crazy! That's crazy! Oh, and you can't see it, but on the other side of that sailboat is probably a $250,000 cobalt. Brand new. Yeah, the whole cobalt's destroyed. You can't even see it. Brand new cobalt. Destroyed. Look at these waves. We're gonna go swimming in a few minutes. Stay tuned. And it's snowing. Oh, and look sideways. Look. By the way, it's snowing. It's fucking snowing. Hey, John Wild, should I shoot a reel here or what? Dude, I might want to do a live performance right now. See what's up. Oh my God.
Let me pause right here and say this because YouTube has a way of acting funny. Weather modification. And you say it's snowing. Snowing. They're waging war on us. And I believe this is retribution. Now, what confuses me, and we thinking through this together, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I got all the answers because I don't have all the answers. That would be a lie. I can only point out to you and logically think through this while I'm talking to you about it. And we already laid out the possibilities. I'm leaning towards this is weather warfare against us. And there's ample evidence of it. What doesn't make sense is why is the warfare going on against everybody else around the world as well? That's the part that doesn't make much sense. When you take a look at this tornado, no, that's old, that's June. No, that's not old, that's June 29th. We're in July 7th. No, that's old. I don't want that. This is more footage of the floods that hit Texas.
Again, I am in my sister's house on Burgess Street in a 2-story house. And it is 2 inches in the house.
Hey, we just Kyle and Nick's truck. His truck can make it, right?
And I'm going to tell you something. There's flooding is psychological terror. And I don't, if you've never been in a flood, then you don't quite understand what I mean about it being a form of psychological terrorism. It's nothing like, I've been there. It's nothing like you being inside of a house with water coming in the house and there's nothing you can do. There's no way to fight the flood. There's nowhere to run from it. There's nowhere to hide. There's nothing you can do. It is the most helpless feeling that a human being can have, because it's a threat that you can do nothing about. If you're not out of the way of it, you're just stuck in it. And if you haven't come to terms with the fact that you're going to be stuck in it, you're going to have a problem. And then while you're stuck in that flood, and you sit there and you're forced to watch the things that you bought and pay for just be destroyed. I mean, it's, you get 6 inches of water in your house, you're screwed. 2 inches, baseboards, I can pop them baseboards off. I can hit them with some bleach. Bang, 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 put them back on. 6 inches, get into the drywall. It soaks into the drywall, starts soaking its way up the wall. 2-3 feet, you screwed. It gets to the point to where it's at the outlets, you're done. Done. Cooked. Done. And you can tell these people don't know much about floods, because if you knew anything about flooding, the first thing you would have did was you would have turned off the damn power. You'd be like, ain't no power coming through this bad boy. You are not killing us. But nonetheless, if you wanted to psychologically terrorize a segment of the population, what you do is you hit them with floods. I mean, that it's just that simple. I mean, it really is that simple. Now, I want to go and show you some of the other stuff that's going on. Volcano Blues, ashes 11 miles into the sky in Indonesia. Wow, that looks like a damn nuclear bomb went off. And so I can lean to, excuse me, I didn't mean to belch on you guys like that. I can lean towards the climate change people being upset because their climate change funding has been cut off and acting a damn fool. I'm telling you, they need money. The deep state is broke. I mean, I can see them setting off natural disasters all over the world trying to get their hands on money. Think about it as extracting funds from various governments around the world. Wow, that's terrifying. That is terrifying. What happens with that ash cloud when it goes into the sky like that, man? Mother Ash. Yeah. I mean, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. To see stuff like that. I'm sorry, let me go back to my bookmarks. Okay, cool. St. Augustine, Florida. Geoengineering is back. Can't even enjoy the beach. And so there's the conversation of weather modification and how it's not being done. But then there's the secret weather modification programs that's been going on. And that's what worries me about the Rainmaker guy. It's almost as if he's kind of the scapegoat for what we've known to be the weather modification that's been going on for years. Here it is. Mexico. Hailstorm in the middle of the summer.
Llegó hasta arriba de la banqueta, mucho más. Mira. El agua llegó hasta arriba.
And what I want you to be mindful of, what I think we should look out for, is who comes out and starts talking about climate change and saying it's worse than it's ever been. The climate change is causing the floods. The climate change is causing this and that. We want to look out for what voices come and become active now. Again, we're trying to get to the truth. We don't necessarily know that any of these theories are the truth. These are theories. They're not conspiracies like some would say. They are theories based on what our eyes are showing us, based on what we know. But I can tell you what, the culprit is going to have to speak up in some way, shape, or form. They can't just not say anything. And the last thing I want to show you guys is, here's China. This is the other one I want to show you. So we got mudslides going on in China. And I'll be the first one to admit, this is what's throwing me for the loop. Really, this is what's throwing me for the loop, because it's happening all over the world. If it was only happening in America, I'd be like, all right, cool. But it's happening all over the world. This destruction is being wrought all over the world. Somebody would say, this is the end times. It's all coming to an end. I mean, we've been having mudslides and storms and things for hundreds of years. The difference is now man has control of the weather. And as with anything that man gets control of, man tends to abuse it. And you want to know why it ends up being abused? Is because righteous people really don't fight to be in power. We just want to have our kids, cook our steaks, hang out, watch a ball game. And we allow wicked people to accumulate power and get into positions of power. And then they torture us with that power that they've accumulated. This is the flood that happened on July 1st in Mexico. And so the weather is being weaponized. The issue is what's going to be done about it and who's going to do anything about it. I'm hoping that people get messages to Donald Trump to have him shut down the weather modification programs that are going on, the secret weather modification programs, which would have spawned out of DARPA, and do something about it. Because in my opinion, this is a way to derail his presidency. I mean, if you can get a Category 5 hurricane, they can get a Category 5 hurricane to slam into the coast of America, anywhere on the coast, East Coast, Gulf Coast, Gulf of America, coast of Gulf of America. Why would you drive that car out into that flood? What the hell is wrong with you? What in the hell is wrong with y'all? What make you think that car gonna drive through that? Yeah, here they go floating. Keep watching the waters, man. The best thing to do is park where that truck is. I'm gonna show you. Go back. Let me rewind this. The best thing you could do, in this right here, I'm gonna pause it. Watch this. The best thing you could do in this situation, they're gonna swing it right there where that truck is. Pull up right there, park, pull up, skirt, climb on the building, and just sit there. Get on top of the building and just sit there, because you ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere, because the water ain't going to stop. That's the best parking place. Put that building between you and that water. But no, you're going to try and drive down the street. What the hell wrong with you? That's a damn river. Look at that thing. You get swept up in that, you dead. You drowning. Dead. Look, there they go in the car, dying. Crazy. Don't drive through. That's not just standing water. That's flood water. Look at it. Yeah, this is what happened. This is exactly what happened when you play around with that water, man. That's why I say keep watching the waters, man. Keep watching the waters. I'm sorry. I'll be spazzing. Tornado. Perfect tornado spawning all over the place. Gary, South Dakota. It's terrifying what's going on with the weather. Absolutely terrifying. And here's the kicker. Kristi Noem highlights on Fox and Friends the urgent need for weather alert systems upgrades after catastrophic floods claimed lives of at least 82 people in Texas, prompted Donald Trump to sign a major disaster declaration. Listen, you could have sent out a damn alert anytime you wanted to. That storm hit at 4 a.m. while everybody was asleep on a damn 4th of July night. You could have sent a weather alert all you want. That wasn't about to change a damn thing that happened that day. Now, is it true that there's no alert system? I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Could it be upgraded? Yeah. Do those upgrades need to focus on weather modification? Hell yeah. They need to.
Devastated and 82 people dead after the state's catastrophic flooding.
President Trump signing a major disaster declaration for the county yesterday. This, as DHS Secretary Noem says, the flood exposes a neglected weather alert system.
Let's bring in the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Madam Secretary, can you give us a little lay of the land right here? What do you see that the folks here on the ground need? What resources and what can we learn from this tragedy?
Well, this is a horrific.
I'm going to stop and say something to y'all. If you guys give me the right support, see where he at? I'm going to have him with some people out doing the exact same thing. And my people, it's going to be spazzing. If you give me the support, in a little while I'll be asking for your support. I'm telling you right now, that right there ain't as real as it can get. Yeah, like the girl said on the plane, I'm telling you right now. When I ask for the support, if you give me the support, trust me, we're gonna make it shake. Because it's one thing to go to a disaster zone. It's another thing to have a person to go to a disaster zone that's trained by me. Start asking questions. They're gonna be knocking on doors. Do. Hey James, what's the question? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Did you get this? What happened with this? What's this? What's this? It's not going to be a controlled narrative. Because as much as Fox News is good, they are a controlled narrative. And you notice there's nobody out there that's just a savage. I mean, that's on the ground, that's a savage. But anyway, let's go back to Fox News for right now, because that's all we have.
Situation, Lawrence. I mean, you're seeing it firsthand today. I was there on Saturday and spent my time with the governor and the emergency management responders and a lot of the families that have been impacted. Some of the parents of those kiddos at Camp Mystic as well. It was absolutely devastating. So we responded immediately as soon as the request came in with Coast Guard assets, with Customs and Border Protection assets that were specially trained for these kind of rescue missions. Also, FEMA has been activated and at an enhanced level. The partnership between the federal government and the state and those local officials is very tight and working hard to make sure that we're bringing some relief to these families and finding people and reuniting people with victims of this flood as soon as possible. But it is, make no mistake, how tragic this situation is. And the president is fully engaged and willing to do all that he can to help the people of Texas through this, because it is a national situation that everybody's hearts are just broken over.
It really is. Madam Secretary, you had over the weekend said that there were some reforms needed for the emergency notification system. Can you be more specific about what those upgrades need to be?
Well, when I got there on Saturday, one of the number one questions we got asked was, we were notified, but we only had a couple hours of notice before this flash flood came. Was the National Weather Service proactive? What was the process that was followed? And the National Weather Service did send out notifications, gave as much time as they could with the tools that they have. And we actually had staff on the ground that was more than would have been in the past because of the holiday vacation. But frankly, the National Weather Service under President Trump has been working to put in new technology and a new system because it's been neglected for years. It's an ancient system that needed to be upgraded. And so President Trump recognized that right away and got to work on it when he came into office in January. But that installation is not complete and that technology isn't fully installed, but the alerts went out. We can continue to learn from every single situation, but know that during these times when we are trying to help people heal from situations like this, the best thing to do is to look and see how we can help and how we can walk alongside people and get them some relief, make sure that we're doing all that we can to be more proactive in the future, but get through this terrible time right now as well.
Sure. But was there any specific breakdown in this particular case that we should know about?
Not that we've found it so far.
It's exactly what I said. You could give them people as much warning as you want. The clouds were seeded. Destruction was coming. The waters rose. The creek rose, and it washed the people away. Now, I wouldn't put it past the National Weather Service, that they still have a bunch of liberals inside of there that were appointed by Joseph R. Biden. I think his name is R. Biden. And they are doing everything they can to sabotage Donald Trump. But, now is not a time where you even make those accusations. Chrissy Nome is real wise, because there's probably something going on, but now it's just not the time to make those kind of accusations. You don't shift the blame at a time like this. If shifting the blame at a time like this leads to more problems, you just take responsibility and you go in and fix the problem. This will be the first real disaster under the new Donald Trump administration, and I anticipate them handling it extremely well. I'm really sorry for the loss of life. We pray for those kids today that they will be reunited with their parents. I would love to see 10, 12 of those kids just pop up out of nowhere and end up at home, but it doesn't look like it. You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't look like it. But I'll tell you this, as we go into this hurricane season, here's what you have to understand. Hurricanes ain't the only threat no more. Yeah. Hurricanes ain't the only threat that you have. Cloud seeding actually probably is a bigger threat for inland storms than hurricanes have ever been. That's what we just saw and we learned. And so when you start seeing them spraying in the clouds and you see chemtrails, then you need to be on your game. Yeah, you need to be on your game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this late night video. We didn't get spooky ooky. We got to some stuff that we really need to get to and discuss. Tomorrow morning, we'll get spooky.